This is Darren Morley with RebootCongress.net, and I'm here today with Ed Martin. Ed was recently elected to the position of Republican Party Chairman here in Missouri. Ed, could you tell us a little bit, what does the Republican Party Chairman do?
Well, the important thing to know is that the party chairman is the leader of the state committee, and the state committee is made up of 68 members from across the state, 2 from each senatorial district. They select a chairman. It is a sort of chairman of the board then of that committee. It's not a full-time job, it's not a paying job, but it's a sort of leader of the party and gives face and direction to the party and helps organize things. And now if I just describe generally what the Missouri Republican Party, led by its state committee, does, and I think that's the key. The key there is to be accessible to all Republicans, both candidates as well as elected officials, to help them understand how they can win, and maybe as importantly, what the principles are of being a conservative and a Republican and how that applies to the public discourse as well as public policy. And then the second thing is, I think the Missouri Republican Party, it's always at its best, or any of these parties are at their best, are relevant to the community, to the Missourians in this case. And so we really have a role to play to say to Missourians, for example, Jay Nixon wants to expand Obamacare into Missouri. That's what his proposal is. Republicans don't want to do that. We know we can't afford it. We know it's bad for our health care. That's a debate from which the Republican Party can play a lead role. And as chairman, I help set that course. The state committee is made up of leaders in the Republican Party from across the state. So when candidates run, there was an incumbent, the previous chairman, David Cole, who's from Southwest Missouri, former state senator Jane Cunningham from up here in St. Louis County. When we ran, the three of us made an argument about why we thought we had the skills, the experience, and it was the right moment to lead the party. I think it was obviously the numbers you saw. It was a pretty close election. Had to go to 2 ballots, and it was still pretty tight. And I think that, more than anything, I think it indicates that there's a lot of debate and a lot of spirit in the Republican Party, and I've already talked to almost all of the people who were there. There was 1 or 2 people missing that are members, and talked about how we can lead and make sure. Again, what I've felt for a long time, and the reason why I ever ran for office, was that the Republican Party at its best, when it embodies the principles that gave us the Constitution, the rule of law, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, the understanding of those God-given principles. At our best, the Republican Party is a great force in American life and in Missouri life. And in the last couple of years, it feels like the Democratic Party has taken us, well, Obama has, towards a kind of socialism that I think will destroy America. And so we've got to be a counterweight. And I think that's why in this debate, good people, Jane is a friend and David Cole's a friend. And I think the people in that committee thought this is a person that, Ed Martin's a guy that can fit this bill for now at this time. I don't know how to answer that when people say, are you from one wing of the party or one side of the party? I think when we articulate our principles and when we talk about the rule of law, we talk about how our country was founded on what I think the Republican Party is meant to embody, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Even last week was the anniversary of the emancipation of the slaves, which was a Republican Party-led effort because we believe in opportunity for every person. We don't believe that government should give us the opportunities. And so when you say those things, as I have in my private life and as a candidate, when you talk about those principles, you tend to find a unifying force and a unifying group of people that come together and they say, well, I might not love that issue on this, it applies this way or that one, but we know we're on the side of more opportunity and more freedom, and we've got to get together, and that's what's at stake. So I don't know if I can unify something or if there's a real split. I do know that as a leader, you learn the skills to be able to say to folks, let's disagree agreeably when we know we're on the same team, and let's make progress. And I think we need that more than ever. We have to have in Missouri leadership from the Republicans. We have to get our policies in place because Missouri is slipping rapidly under the Democrats, and America is slipping rapidly under Obama and the Democrats in the Senate. So we've got to get our principles in place. We've got to get our policies in place by winning elections, and that's what I intend to be a part of. Well, look, I can describe to answer two ways. One is I was, as you know, a candidate for statewide office at the time. I was the Republican nominee. I was publicly silent about the idea of asking Todd Akin to get out. I had conversations with him and his staff about what I thought the problems were that he was facing, but ultimately he was our nominee. And I think the public, most people will admit, and if they don't, I think they should, the public sort of display of get out of the race, Todd Akin, you're not the one we want, was very not only disheartening, but it was really not helpful. And I think most people admit that now. I think the way that the Republican Party did that didn't come across. Now, I wasn't in David Cole's shoes at the time. My understanding is that was more an effort led by some of the national people and by some of the officials here in Missouri, but not by the party. All I know is that if I'm chairman and it go forward, I want to be a part of making smart strategic decisions, because what we know is Claire McCaskill lied about her record. She calls herself moderate. She's not moderate. Claire McCaskill is a rubber stamp for Barack Obama, and this is a major problem, and it's a real detriment to our country that we didn't replace her. And so we needed to be clearer, and as a leader I will be, about what the role we have in making clear what limitations are and what's happening to people like a candidate like Todd, and ways that we can affect that. But it was very unfortunate, and I think it was not only an unfortunate display, I thought it was very uncharitable by the Republicans who were piling on. I think it didn't do us any good, and in the long run, it was more hurtful.
So one of the roles of the party chairman, as I understand it, is to try and help the Republican candidates get elected.
Uh-huh.
You're standing here today as a guy who's lost...
Well, no, wait, I've won two and I've lost two.
Oh.
I won two primary elections. Don't discount those primaries. They count. I've won two. Look, here's the thing. Everybody knows that watches elections that the first race I was ever in was a race in a 60% Democrat district, Gephardt's district, against a guy named Carnahan. We came within a whisker of winning. We raised millions of bucks. It was a great campaign. Everybody knows that our campaign against the Attorney General, Chris Koster, was one of the largest ground games, grassroots games. We raised a couple $1 million, and we did a great job, I think, of mobilizing forces. Now, I took on two of the tougher names and moneyed folks in Missouri politics, the Democrats. That's true. But I think we did a lot of things that make people understand that that's why I'm not a candidate. I want to be a guy that can help the candidates get out there and win, because I'm not the candidate this time. I think it's time for other folks to do that. And look, the most important thing is that no matter what, in 2014 and 2016, whoever's running, we need to be unified in the vision of what Republicans are supposed to be about, which is the Constitution, the rule of law, the founding values, and make sure we stick to them. And when we do that, we win. In every place in Missouri where we're able to make clear we were the conservatives, they were the liberals, we won. State reps, state senates, every place where they lied about their record. Claire McCaskill, I'm a moderate. Chris Koster, I'm a assault weapons supporter, or Jay Nixon, I'm a moderate tax cutter. All those are lies, and whenever we made clear what the difference was, we were able to win, and we have to make sure that we can make that difference clear in every race in 14 and 16. And by the way, not just the November of 14 and 16, but also the April elections at the municipal level and the county elections and any special election. Every level we need to win, because our vision's better for the freedom and opportunity of Americans than theirs is. What I know my approach will be, which has been honed after 3 years or so, is to fully engage. In politics, there's a phrase that I've often used, that there's only two types of people, the quick and the dead. If you're not quick, you're dead. And I think in this business, we have to be very quick to make sure that we're arguing about what our principles are as they apply to policy. So a few weeks ago, when Jay Nixon rolled out his effort to expand Obamacare to Missouri, $6.8 billion of our tax dollars, and he flew around the state and he said, I'm so happy to have $6.8 billion to spend on Obamacare in Missouri. Please approve that. There was not, I don't think, enough of a counterweight by weak Republicans and conservatives to say, wait, that free money you're talking about, Jay Nixon, is our money that goes to Washington and comes back, or money from China, which we pay later, $2 on the dollar. And so we have to be willing to engage rapidly and quickly about what's going on. That includes social media, that includes conventional media, that includes finding ways to create the next opportunities. It's never true that you can run the next election based on the last election. You have to look forward and find the ways to do things. Now, that's not magic. I'm not saying to find some magic pill. We have to also do the basics: database, door-to-door, grassroots cultivation, train ourselves, but we have to be very proactive, and for lack of a better word, we have to be more aggressive in reaching out, whether it's social media or conventional or otherwise. And I think that has to do with bloggers, it has to do with TV reporters, radio reporters, announcers, whoever it is. You've just got to be willing to engage. And we're going to have a team at the Missouri Republican Party, paid staff that's going to be quick into the action to make clear what our principles and policies are. I have plenty of ideas of people that would be good, but I also know that the way to hire somebody for an important position that has a lot of stakeholders involved is to be more transparent about the search. I'm not interested in putting in the backroom deal, the guy or gal that I picked or you picked or Senator so-and-so picked. That's what's happened in the past. And that's what's given people a very strong sense that this is, very politics as usual, and it only matters, again, our principles are opportunity for all. The Democrats' principles are you only get opportunity in relation to our power in government. We don't want that. And so I have ideas on executive director, but also I'm going to do a search that will allow candidates from across the state of Missouri, as well as across the country, to look at this and say, wow, Missouri is one of the top 5 or 10 states in the union. And that's one of the great jobs, to be executive director of this party. I want to go and be a part of that and build something, because I kind of look at it. We have a 5 to 10 year window here where we need to really make Missouri so great that people want to be here. And if we let the Democrats have any more time, more pointedly, the policies of Nixon and Obama take root in Missouri, people won't be staying here. They'll be headed to places where freedom and the rule of law reign, and not crony politics and crony government like what Nixon and Koster and Obama have been doing. So, that's what's at stake. And I think when I think of an ED, an executive director or chief of staff, whatever you call that job, we got to have somebody that embraces the vision, has the skills to undertake the job. That guy or gal may right now be in Florida or Texas or Alaska, who knows? And let's go let them come to us or find them, and let's get a really great professional, and let's get the job going, because we got a lot of work to do. I think the most important thing about any job like this, or any position like this, is not a job, is to be open to what people are talking about and hearing and saying. And you and I have seen the Tea Party sort of rise and shift and change and sometimes fragment. We've seen the Republican Party do some things well and then shift and maybe not do things well. We've seen Obama be one thing one day, say another thing another day. One of the things that would help me, and I think the party needs to do, is be able to listen better to the people wherever they are, whether they're Republicans, Constitution Party, Tea Party, whatever, Democrats, Independents, and find out what they're feeling and how they're relating to the issues. Not that we change our positions, but I go on college campus. The college kids, they understand the debt. They understand what they're hearing about spending. They have a sense of what's the generational shift that's going on. And you go on there and talk about some of the issues, education. They may not have a real sense yet about education. They don't have kids. They haven't thought about it. But they're talking about the debt. And they understand that there's issues in this world that's now global. They know what it means to have violence in other parts of the world and have bad guys out there. So we got to make sure that we're communicating about our Republican principles. And when we do, and you say, hey, we're for more opportunity for you, more control of your life. You keep in more of your money, not because we want less money for government, although that's true, but because we know you do better with your money. You start talking about these issues. I'm a term limit supporter. And people say, why term limits? Because we need new people, new blood. People relate to our principles and our policies very positively, but we've got to get really much better at communicating them. And when we do, I think we win nearly every election. And my goodness, in 14 and 16 and 13 and 15, we've got to win all these elections, because Missouri needs it. We need a change, and I think the country does too.
Okay. Thank you, Ed.
Thanks, Darren.